What do you mean we're dispatching vehicles with damaged axles during a heat wave? Xavier Olson focused intently on the operations report displayed on his laptop, his gaze sharpening. This marked the third complaint of the week from the same location, Store 4, just outside Bakersfield. A customer reported that the brakes made a squealing noise throughout the entire journey. Another remarked that the interior had an odor reminiscent of mold. Still, the branch continued to assure that all operations were proceeding without a hitch. There was a discrepancy that couldn't be ignored. Xavier acquired the rental car chain 8 years prior from a couple looking to retire and dedicated years to transforming it into a 6-location enterprise throughout California. However, recently, he found himself overwhelmed by expansion meetings and the daily tasks that had slipped through his fingers. "I'm weary of the sanitized reports," he grumbled, leaning away from his desk. "I'm stepping in." The strategy was straightforward. Assume the identity of a fresh recruit named Eric, sporting thick glasses, a neatly trimmed beard, and a uniform cap pulled down low. No one at Store 4 had encountered him prior. He typically interacted solely with store managers during quarterly reviews, and even those were conducted over Zoom. He arrived the next Monday, carrying a duffel bag and a counterfeit resume. The district manager had maneuvered behind the scenes to secure his entry, informing the branch manager that they were understaffed and required everyone's assistance. Store 4 had been operating with minimal staff for weeks. 2 employees had resigned due to exhaustion, and 1 was on medical leave. That resulted in extended hours, brief respites, and numerous shortcuts being taken. "What is your name?" The branch manager hardly lifted her gaze from the clipboard. "Eric," Xavier said, his voice calm and measured. "All right, go ahead and pick up a vest. Today you are accompanied by Miles. He's in the rear area. Do your best to keep up the pace with him." The name of the manager was Dana, in her mid-40s, with keen eyes and a voice that conveyed a constant edge of impatience. She refrained from extending a handshake outside. Xavier encountered Miles, a slender young man in his 20s who appeared as though he hadn't rested in days. "So, you're the new guy?" Miles inquired, wiping the sweat from his brow. "Awesome. I trust you enjoy soaking up the sun." The task involved cleaning the vacuum interiors of incoming vehicles, restocking air fresheners, wiping down dashboards, and sending them through the automated wash. The initial batch of cars was satisfactory. Had a hint of mustiness, yet posed no real threat. Then arrived the blue sedan. "Are you serious?" Miles asked as he opened the door. "It has the distinct aroma of a damp canine that has been confined indoors for far too long." Xavier glanced inside. He choked back a sound. Miles shrugged, questioning why this was even in rotation. Dana remarked that if it begins, it will rent, while Xavier simply blinked. The axe shattered. "The fabric is moist. There are dark stains on the back seat." "Mold," Miles remarked. "We informed her last week. She mentioned that there isn't a budget available to remove cars from the lineup." Xavier experienced a constriction in his chest. "That's not how this works," Miles chuckled, though the laughter held no trace of amusement. "Greetings to Store 4, my friend." In the hours that followed, Xavier witnessed an increasing presence of decay. A minivan featuring a fractured windshield, alongside a compact car whose steering wheel trembled at elevated speeds. All of them had gone unnoticed. As he casually brought it up to Dana, she dismissed him with a wave. She mentioned that if customers aren't satisfied, they have the option to pay extra for the premium lot. "We don't position ourselves as a luxury brand. We transport vehicles swiftly. That's our way of staying in the loop. But what if someone gets injured?" he inquired. She remained silent, simply turned and left. In the afternoon, a young woman named Marcy made her introduction during a refreshing water break. She seemed fresh, from high school. Yet her speed and expertise were impressive as she assisted Xavier in navigating the complexities of the vacuum system when he encountered difficulties. "You're putting in a lot of effort," he remarked. She smiled, gently sweeping a lock of hair away from her face. "I'm looking for more hours to assist my mom with the rent." Xavier gave a slight nod. She paused, questioning, "You enjoy it here?" "While management may not be very receptive, I truly appreciate the team. Miles is always there for me." That evening, as they secured the premises, Xavier noticed Dana completing the paperwork for a van that had a check engine light illuminated. She glanced upward, caught his gaze, and squinted her eyes in response. There was something he wanted to express, yet he merely shook his head, managing to muster a smile. Not at all. I'm currently navigating the basics. Yet within, he was aflame. He had faith that this store would conduct its business with honesty. Instead, vehicles were being pushed out the door, unsafe and unclean, merely to meet targets. And the most disheartening aspect was that no one appeared to be taken aback. By the second day, Xavier could sense the trouble brewing at Store 4 without needing a report to confirm it. He sensed it in the atmosphere, the tension, the weariness, and the subtle manner in which employees averted their gaze whenever Dana passed by. No one voiced their grievances publicly. They simply accelerated their pace. That morning, he found himself at the front desk alongside a man named Curtis. Curtis, in his late 30s, donned a well-worn company polo and typed with the swift precision of someone who had internalized the system through countless hours of practice. Curtis glanced at the screen and advised, "Let's avoid making promises we can't keep. If a customer is unhappy, simply bring me into the conversation. Dana prefers that trainees do not manage escalations." Xavier gave a slight nod. Understood. Curtis leaned back in his chair, his lips pressed into a line as he pondered how to respond if someone inquired about the state of their car. "We inform them it passed inspection, even if it just scraped by. Is that usual?" Curtis paused, uncertainty flickering in his mind. It's certainly more prevalent than it ought to be. The initial customers came and went swiftly, primarily business travelers in search of vehicles for the day. Then a couple entered, both in their 70s, looking sharp and carrying a printout of their reservation. A mid-sized sedan had been requested for the week. Curtis accessed their file. "A Corolla is prepped and waiting for you in spot 22 out back." A smile graced the woman's lips. "Excellent. My husband has a heart condition. We're looking for something sleek and stylish." Xavier volunteered to escort them out as Curtis got the paperwork ready. As he swung open the Corolla's door, a wave of heat enveloped him, reminiscent of a blast furnace. The AC. The settings were adjusted to maximum, yet only warm air was emitted. Apologies slipped from his lips in a hurried manner. "Allow me to verify a detail." The husband was already dabbing at the perspiration on his forehead, visibly uneasy. Xavier lifted the hood and gazed into the engine compartment, feigning expertise. Though not a mechanic, he possessed the insight to identify a damaged compressor line. He strode purposefully back inside. "Curtis," he murmured, "that car's air conditioning is not functioning. We can't provide that to them." Curtis remained unfazed. "That's the last midsize we have available. All other options are fully reserved. Next, enhance them. That can't be approved without Dana's input." Xavier glanced over to see her by the printer. "Dana," he called, his voice steady. "There are a few elderly individuals outside. The vehicle they were given lacks a functioning air conditioning system. How about we offer them a crossover instead?" She remained completely still, not even glancing back. "The upgrades are not complimentary. That's the way it is." Xavier scowled. "However, they can either wait or accept what we possess," she stated matter-of-factly. "Do you really believe that cars just sprout from the ground?" Curtis shot him a glance that conveyed, "Just drop it." Yet Xavier remained still. "They're elderly," he stated with increased volume. "The man is perspiring and appears to be quite pale. This might pose a risk." Dana finally lifted her eyes, her expression sharp. "So, you're the newcomer, huh? This isn't your domain. If the car doesn't meet their expectations, they have the option to cancel the reservation and seek out another company." He gazed at her, utterly bewildered. Curtis averted his gaze. He sensed the door creak open behind him. The couple strolled. Back inside, the woman playfully fanning her husband with a brochure. "Sir," Xavier said hastily, moving closer, "kindly take a seat. We will find you something superior." Dana traversed the room in 3 swift strides. "Absolutely not." Xavier faced her, his voice barely above a whisper. "You're jeopardizing a customer's well-being for the sake of saving a small amount of money. If you wish to maintain your position, it's essential to adjust your manner of speaking. Curtis remained silent. Xavier cast a glance over his shoulder at the couple. Just give me 10 minutes, he said. He took a key from the wall, drove the crossover from the back lot, and brought it to the front himself. Dana trailed behind him as they exited. You cannot dismiss my authority. Xavier maintained a calm and even tone. This vehicle is available for them to take if necessary. I'll cover the difference myself. She halted, her arms folded defiantly. We have a different approach to things around here. He passed the keys to the customers, assisted them into the car, and ensured the AC was functioning properly. Had been sprinting just before they sped away. It was only at that moment that he redirected his attention to Dana. Her expression was unyielding. You just incurred a cost of $150 on that rental. Your actions nearly led us into a legal battle. Perhaps this place isn't the right fit for you. There was no response from him. I just stepped back inside and continued the task of cleaning out another returned vehicle, one featuring a sticky back seat and a missing rear-view mirror. That afternoon, Marcy caught his attention by the vending machines. Hey, she murmured softly. I witnessed the events unfold. That was courageous. Xavier gave a nonchalant shrug. It was the appropriate course of action. She surveyed her surroundings briefly before leaning in closer. Dana has exhibited this behavior for months now. Since the departure of 2 of our full-time staff, her demeanor has shifted, and she has been quite irritable with everyone. Curtis remains silent, yet he has been here the longest. He once held the position of assistant manager, but she decided to demote him, claiming he lacked the necessary aggression in upselling. She lowered his position, Xavier inquired. Indeed. Determined to enhance results, she decided to take charge of the floor herself. Xavier's grip on the paper cup he held grew firmer. What is the situation with HR? Everyone is hesitant to take that chance. Many of us engage in this on a part-time basis. When you voice your concerns, your time seems to vanish. Later that evening, as he was disposing of trash from the back lots, Xavier noticed something unusual behind the loading dock. 2. Youthful workers, likely in their teenage years, perched on crates quietly enjoying their meals from brown paper bags. Neither had name tags on. He drew near. Hey, are you all on a break? One of them gave a slight nod. Dana mentioned that we don't clock out for lunch if it's less than 15 minutes. A proper lunch isn't on your agenda. That benefit is exclusive to full-time employees. We're only here for a wash and vacuum. Xavier scowled. What time did you start working today? Since 10. It's nearly 6 o'clock. He gazed intently at them. And there's no break for a meal. They nodded in disapproval. One of them nibbled at a sandwich. The other merely cast their gaze downward. That evening, Xavier found himself in the break room, solitary and absorbed in the schedule affixed to the wall. The voids were evident. 3 open positions remain unfilled. No specific lunch breaks for part-time employees and overlapping cleaning tasks. He had a restless night. By the next morning, the strain between him and Dana was unmistakable. She completely disregarded him, issuing commands to everyone else while turning a blind eye to his existence. Curtis remained silent, yet he passed him a clipboard containing a note. Examine arriving vehicles with great attention to detail. Do not overlook any details. Xavier grasped the implication. At noon, a family of 5 made their entrance, consisting of 2 parents and 3 children, all under the age of 10. A reservation had been made weeks prior for a 7-seat SUV. Marcy managed the check-in process as Xavier went off to collect the vehicle. The SUV sat in the rear, shrouded in partial concealment. Upon opening the door, he immediately noticed the issues: cracked leather seats, dried gum stuck to the floor, and a 3rd-row seatbelt frayed at the anchor. He retraced his steps to the service lane. Dana caught sight of him. Why isn't that displayed prominently? The seatbelt is broken. It still runs, right? They are parents. This matter pertains to safety concerns. She made her way across the lot to him. That decision isn't yours to make. I certainly do. Child safety is at risk. Next, tidy it up, secure the belt with tape and relocate it. He gazed at her intently. Are you asking me to secure a seat belt with tape? She remained silent, simply stared intently. Xavier pivoted and made his way back indoors. He discovered Marcy arranging key tags. "Would you be able to assist me with something?" he inquired. "Inform the family that their vehicle is not yet prepared. Provide them with a refund or a voucher for the next day." Her eyes grew large with surprise. "Dana is going to lose her composure. I'll bear the burden." She gave a slow nod. Moments later, Dana burst in, her face flushed with anger. "You've done it again, haven't you? Sneaking around without my knowledge. I intervened to prevent a safety violation. It's finished." She broke. "Time to clock out. Kindly leave your badge behind." Xavier let the clipboard fall onto the counter with pleasure. He then delved into his back pocket and retrieved his genuine wallet. Within was a company ID card featuring his photograph and designation. CEO Curtis glanced away from his screen. Dana stood still. "What is that?" "My name is not Eric." He spoke with a sense of tranquility. "Xavier Olson here. This company is mine." Silence enveloped the room. Curtis rose gradually, caught in a dilemma between resuming his seat or making a hasty exit. Marcy stifled a gasp. Xavier shifted his gaze to Dana. "Your responsibilities have been lifted." In effect, right away, she appeared utterly astonished. "It's not possible." "I have just completed that task." He shifted his gaze toward Curtis. "The individual overseeing your temporary management needs. We'll discuss the permanent structure at a later time." Dana parted her lips, yet silence enveloped her. Xavier strolled by her, heading toward the rear lot. He could sense the weight of their gazes without turning around, aware that every employee in the room was focused on him. He merely wished they truly sensed their visibility at last. Curtis remained still. He lingered behind the desk, his gaze fixed on Xavier, as though anticipating a sudden interruption that would reveal this entire scene as a mere fabrication. Yet, no one took action. Xavier glanced in his direction. "Please attend to this task immediately. Restrict Dana's access to the system. Revoke her permissions for payroll scheduling. Everything." Curtis gave a slow nod and made his way to the terminal. Xavier surveyed the space. The lobby exuded a serene stillness, punctuated only by the gentle murmur of the ceiling fan. The family he had assisted before had already departed. Marcy lingered by the key rack, clutching a clipboard tightly in her hands. Her knuckles were pale as snow. He motioned softly in her direction. "Please assemble the rest of the team. I wish to communicate with all." With a swift nod, she dashed toward the back lot. Curtis lifted his gaze from the terminal. "She finds herself unable to enter." "I will gather her keys." "She has already left," Xavier remarked. "She departed the moment I averted my gaze." Curtis opened and closed his eyes rapidly. She remained completely silent. "No, I simply walked." He exhaled, a sound that lingered for a mere 10 minutes. The group gathered close to the service bay. 5 employees gathered in a casual half-circle. Curtis, Marcy, Miles, along with the 2 high schoolers from the wash station. A young woman arrived just in time, drying her hands with a towel from the detail room. Expressions were absent, replaced by watchful visages. Xavier advanced, his dusty uniform shirt clinging to him. He remained the same, unwashed, still wearing the cap. He preferred not to enter exuding the aura of a CEO. He desired for them to recognize an individual who had stood alongside them and grasped the significance of that experience. "I appreciate each of you for staying put." Silence enveloped the scene. As if time itself had paused, not a single soul stirred. "I've been here for 3 days," he went on. "It became clear that you have been shouldering the weight of this place alone, lacking the necessary support, tools, and attentive leadership." Marcy adjusted her position ever so slightly, yet remained silent. "I'm unable to resolve all issues in a single night," he remarked. "However, starting now, there will be a shift. Beginning tomorrow, we will be reducing the store's operating hours by 1 hour. This will allow us to adjust schedules and ensure that everyone is adhering to legal shift regulations." Curtis knitted his brow in thought. "Will that impact revenue?" "We're currently facing a decline in revenue as we push customers away with unreliable vehicles and exhausted staff. I'd prefer to manage one smooth shift rather than 2 disrupted ones, he said to the high schoolers. Same. To you. From this point forward, your time will be limited to 6 hours a day. You will receive a well-deserved break, even if it comes without pay. No one goes without a meal here anymore. They shared a look, caught in a moment of doubt about his truthfulness. Xavier cast a glance at Curtis. You will serve as the acting manager until further notice. You will receive complete access to all that Dana possessed. I will personally assess your pay adjustment. Curtis blinked. I had my doubts about whether you recognized me at all. Your name was known to me. I simply had to witness the work you were undertaking without a title, Curtis acknowledged with a single nod. Tonight, I can create a schedule. Marcy stepped forward. What is the situation with the cars? Half of them are not secure. Xavier hesitated. I have already reached out to fleet services. Beginning tomorrow, we will be removing all units that have outstanding maintenance concerns. If that puts us at a disadvantage, so be it. I would prefer to process refunds than jeopardize anyone's safety. Miles crossed his arms. And Dana is no longer employed by this company. Her conduct was intolerable, and we will be examining each grievance submitted during her oversight. Curtis made his entrance. While there were some, the majority of individuals chose not to submit anything. Xavier cast his gaze toward the team. If you have any incidents to share that occurred during her oversight, feel free to reach out to HR directly or to me. No one will face any consequences. That's a commitment. The young woman from the detail room lifted her hand with deliberate slowness. Once, she referred to me as a liability, commented that my limp reflected poorly on us. Xavier's jaw clenched. I ask your name, Jenna. Jenna, you are not a burden. If you require adjusted responsibilities, we will make the necessary arrangements. If her limp ever puts you at risk, I want it recorded. She offered a subtle nod. A silence enveloped the group, dense yet not unfriendly. Then Curtis took a moment to clear his throat. He mentioned there was something more. You might want to take a look at the back inventory room. Dana had it secured to the floor staff, claiming it was exclusively for her use. She had it secured, Xavier inquired. Curtis gave a slight nod. For months, reveal it to me. They strolled down the corridor, glancing at the laundry bins before entering. A slender hallway. At the end stood a grey steel door complete with a keypad. Curtis entered the code, and with a satisfying click, the lock released its grip. He swung the door open with force. Xavier entered and came to a halt. The room brimmed with untouched cleaning supplies, extra filters, fragrant air fresheners, and neatly stacked boxes of new seat covers. The shelves brimmed with oil, brake pads, AC recharge kits, and windshield wipers, all the items they had previously lacked. This might have resolved many of the problems I encountered this week, Xavier whispered. Curtis gave a slight shake of his head. She procured supplies within budget and stored them away, claiming it minimized waste. Xavier gazed intently at the boxes. We've been losing customers while she remained inactive on all the opportunities that could have made a difference. Curtis retreated into the hallway. She established the atmosphere. People became accustomed to the idea that nothing would shift. Xavier shifted his gaze toward him. It is transforming at this moment. As the sun dipped below the horizon and the last customer departed, Xavier lingered in the quiet of the empty store. He reached out to HR to commence a formal evaluation of the employment practices at Store 4 and emphasized the need for a regional safety officer to be sent out the following morning. He proceeded to make 2 additional calls, first to the district manager who had sanctioned his covert visit, and then to the head of fleet operations. Each was succinct. Upon his return to the lobby, he discovered Marcy diligently cleaning the front counter. You're still here, he inquired. Assumed I'd complete what I began. He strolled over. Have you ever considered advancing your position? She glanced upward, taken aback. You possess remarkable intuition. You approached that family with such sensitivity, and you stepped in without a moment's pause when I requested your help. That is what true leadership looks like, she paused. I lack experience. I had no idea either when I began. She let out a soft chuckle. You hold the position of CEO. It seems you might have had a strategy in mind. I owned a truck and operated a website. That was the end. She gazed at the cloth in her grasp. I'm uncertain. I simply want to ensure that my mom retains the apartment. We can assist with that as well, she paused. Xavier pressed on. I am pleased to extend an offer for you to take on the role of team lead. It will include an increase in pay and assured working hours. We'll coordinate the schedule to ensure it doesn't conflict with school commitments, if you find yourself doing that as well. Her eyes grew large with surprise. You're not joking. I only express what I truly believe. She blinked rapidly. Absolutely, I would appreciate that. Curtis emerged from the shadows of the back room. The fleet inspection team has been confirmed for tomorrow morning. Excellent, Xavier responded. We will guide them through each vehicle. Curtis gave a slight nod. We're going to require a battalion of clipboards. Xavier surveyed the lobby with keen interest. The lingering aroma of aged carpet mingled with a hint of pine from the air freshener. But for the first time since he entered the store, it didn't feel broken. It seemed like an issue within their grasp to resolve. He glanced over at Curtis and Marcy. Let's create it properly this time. Silence enveloped them both. There was no necessity for that. They have recently returned to their tasks. By Friday morning, the store's parking lot was half empty. A number of vehicles were removed from the lineup and positioned on the far side of the yard, each marked with red tags. At precisely 8 o'clock, a duo of fleet safety officers arrived, clipboards in hand. Xavier greeted them at the service lane, personally guiding them through the lined-up vehicles. Curtis meticulously arranged every maintenance log and incident report he could uncover. Certain ones were lacking completeness. Some were completely absent. Who approved these? An inspector inquired. Xavier hesitated before responding. The silence conveyed its own message. Within, the atmosphere had transformed. It lacked a sense of ease. The week they had just experienced lingered in everyone's memory, yet there existed a careful feeling of harmony. Workers no longer felt the need to glance back in apprehension, their gazes locked in a silent exchange. Jenna arrived early, her gait slightly unsteady, yet she dove into her tasks with unwavering determination. Upon noticing the stock supply closet ajar, she halted in the doorway, caught in a moment of stillness. Curtis accompanied her. All items are now queued in the system. Gather what you require. She took her time to respond. Just picked up a set of microfiber towels and returned to perfecting the details on the crossover after my night shift. Marcy, clad in a company-issued polo and sporting a freshly clipped badge, was busy adjusting the keyboard behind the counter. The title beneath her name stated, Team Lead. Your color coding by size class, Xavier asked, stepping up beside her. Helps with rush hours, she said. Seeing that messy board sends people into a frenzy, he acknowledged with a single nod. Wise decision, she paused. May I pose a question? Absolutely. You mentioned that you began with nothing more than a truck and a website. What inspired you to pursue all of this? He rested against the counter. There was an occasion when I rented a car that unexpectedly stalled on the freeway. The company has offered neither an apology nor a refund. I was advised to review the terms and conditions. I thought I could improve. And she offered a slight smile. Indeed you did. Not every time I drifted too high, losing touch with the sensation of the floor beneath my feet. She cast a quick look at the service bay, where 2 high school students were busy unloading a shipment of windshield wipers. Xavier straightened as you returned. I will remain present this time. By noon, the inspectors were wrapping things up. As one of them made their way toward Xavier, the other continued to capture images of the minivan's undercarriage. The inspector noted that approximately 28% of this fleet was not fit for circulation. A comprehensive report will be forwarded to your central team. However, I suggest pausing rentals for the next 3 days to allow this location to reset. Curtis approached, drying his hands with a towel. We have begun the process of reallocating reservations to nearby locations. Excellent, Xavier remarked. Please inform me if additional personnel is required to assist with that. We'll find a way, Curtis responded, but we'll require ongoing support. We continue to face a shortage of staff. I've set that in motion. The HR team is currently examining applications from local stores and contacting several individuals who have recently departed. Curtis arched an eyebrow. Do you believe they'll return? If they learn about the changes, they may be inclined to act. Once the inspectors departed, Xavier convened the team once more. This time they found themselves in the staff room rather than the service bay. The air conditioning buzzed softly above, neither forceful nor ineffective. Simply doing its job, he began, "I won't deliver an elaborate speech." This week truly conveyed its own message. Miles lingered by the doorway, his arms crossed in contemplation. "Are you considering implementing this at the other locations?" Xavier mentioned that he has already visited 3 in the last 2 months, yet none resembled this. Jenna rested her back against the counter. "What's the reason for remaining in the shadows? Why not simply make an appearance? If I had stepped in as the CEO, I would have received a tour, a sleek car and a break for lunch. The truth was essential to me." Curtis considered this with a thoughtful nod. "Absolutely, understood. I certainly did. At this moment, I require your assistance." All eyes were on him. "Ensure mutual responsibility. Express your thoughts when something feels amiss. Take initiative and don't rely on corporate to make improvements. Be the force that keeps this place on track." Marcy raised her hand. "What? If something goes awry once more?" Xavier stated it matter-of-factly. "This system has its flaws. However, should it happen, you now have direct connections. Curtis possesses my contact information. Indeed, HR does as well. You have company now." The 2 junior staff members shared a knowing look. A hand was raised, albeit with a hint of hesitation. "Are we still permitted to work on weekends?" Xavier stated, "You are. However, no more than 6 hours each day, and only if your parents give their approval. Rest assured we will ensure you receive your breaks." He faced the group once more. "Dana has left us. Her choices failed to embody our identity or the principles we uphold. If anyone else ever treats you like that, you come to me right away." Curtis took a moment to clear his throat. "Just one final note. A customer is currently waiting in the lobby. Claims he is bringing back the vehicle ahead of schedule due to a mildew odor." Xavier tightened his jaw. "Is it one of the units that have been flagged? I'm still contemplating, but I will take care of it." "No, I will," Xavier declared. He should receive the message directly from the highest authority. He entered the lobby, where a man in his 50s leaned against the desk, arms crossed. The keys rested on the counter, waiting patiently. "I apologize for the odor," Xavier remarked. As he drew near, "The unit is being withdrawn from circulation with immediate effect." The man appears taken aback. "You are in collaboration with management. I hold the position of CEO," his brows arched. "Surely you must be kidding." "Absolutely not, sir. I have dedicated my entire week to working here. We are implementing some adjustments. Should you choose to trust us again, I will ensure that your next vehicle is immaculate and thoroughly examined." The man observed him intently for a brief moment. "You're not joking." "I exist." He gave a slow nod. "Understood. I'll offer you another chance." Xavier extended his hand in a firm shake. "Thanks a lot." As the sun started its descent behind the hills, the lot took on an unusual stillness, less traffic, reduced clientele. Yet there was an undeniable sense of stability to it. Not quite back to normal, yet progressing towards something brighter. Marcy stepped outside, a clipboard tucked under her arm. "We can accommodate 5 additional reservations for next week, provided the cleaned units meet inspection standards." Xavier stated that they will. She cast her gaze toward the backlot. "Do you really believe the other stores are as terrible as this one?" Each of them shows signs of wear, yet this particular one has been mended, alongside the right individuals. Curtis approached, the sound of keys jingling in his hand. "Fleet Services have just confirmed that a delivery is scheduled for Monday. We will obtain 6 substitutes." "Excellent," Xavier remarked. "We will require them." The trio remained still for a brief moment, observing Jenna and Miles as they completed the final touches on the last car of the day. Inside, the 2 younger employees busily restocked air fresheners, their laughter ringing out as they joked about a mishap involving a spill. Xavier surveyed his surroundings. Curtis nodded, affirming that this was how it was always meant to be. "It's progressing nicely." As the sun sank lower in the sky, Xavier descended from the curb and strolled along the expanse of the lot. inspecting each vehicle with his hands, not out of necessity, but out of desire. Tomorrow, he planned to explore yet another store. In TET, the following week, yet another. Yet this evening, Store 4 was precisely in its rightful place, flawed, weary, but resiliently upright. And everyone, every single individual, was finally being acknowledged.